Hi guys, I'm Shmee, hello and welcome back to the channel where you join me on another beautiful day here in the region of the Nürburgring, the Eifel Mountains in Germany, and back at Opus with the AMG GT Black Series. They have now completed the upgrades, which means this car is going to sound significantly better than it did before. It is going to make a whole lot more power, as we will find out on the dyno very shortly, and then I'm going to take it out for a drive to experience what the Opus upgrades are all about. As you can see, it is already strapped down on the dyno, ready for a cold start very shortly so we can hear the new system before we will get a readout for exactly the power it is now making, having done the stock run before, which said 775 horsepower. I suspect we will be through the 800 barrier, which is insane to think about, and then it will be time to take it for a drive, plus a few other little surprises as well. Needless to say, I'm quite excited about this, so today is all about the GT Black Series here with Opus. As you can see, things are pretty much ready to go. Lucas and the team here at Opus had the GT Black Series strapped down on the dyno last night, so that means in a moment we will actually have a cold start, and then after we've done the dyno run, it will need to head back over to the lifts, because in order to secure it tightly with the straps, you actually need to remove the diffuser panel. So we'll have to pop it up on the lift to pop that back in, but in the process we'll get to see the upgrades and what's been changed underneath, along with a couple of other things I might not yet have mentioned. Now this is going to be a long-term Shmeemobile. It is looking magnificent in Solarbeam, but these were the upgrades that I always intended, because the stock GT Black Series, while not lacking for power, I'm not going to pretend that it was short on power to begin with, was certainly lacking in sound. It did not sound like the car that it looks, and that is why we are here with Opus, and that is why I'm intrigued now to see what this is actually like. First up then, with the flaps open, we need to take a listen to the startup. That is better. That is so much better. It sounds more, it's not crazy loud. Louder than it was, and obviously we're indoors. Yeah, that's the sound that you would expect from this kind of car. Before we get to the full dyno run, the car needs to be warmed up just a touch. So that's comfort mode, flaps open. I'm alright with that. That is now fairly obviously no longer in comfort. The cracks and the sounds you get in Sport Plus, Race, or Individual, wow! Well, that sounds quite cool. Obviously you can switch it, you don't have to have that. That sounds much more how this car should be. And it's getting louder as it gets warmer as well. It's dyno time, and take a look at what the wing does, the way it pops up. Alright, building up the speed, ready to give this the full run, and compare to what we had before at stock. This is going to be fascinating in just a moment. We've got a lot of airflow, because of course the cooling blowing from in front of the car to mimic the speeds at which it's going to be driving. Here we go. Wow. Well, that sounded pretty good. This is of course now the noise of the rollers. Down to the cracks as well, maybe. There we go. Before we get the numbers, I think we're going to have a little bit more noise. So what you're hearing now is the difference when you have the button pressed, the balance more powerful button in the central console. That basically turns on or off popcorn, you could say. The cracks, no, this one, the cracks that you hear from shifting. Okay. Hearing and enjoying enjoying the sound, but now we need some of the numbers. We're going to have a few quick revs to show you some of the difference with the different modes. So starting in race mode with the valves opened and the exhaust in powerful. So this is basically where we're going to get some cracks out of it. So that's basically the noisiest setting, but you can of course then effectively turn off the cracks by having it in comfort mode or by putting the exhaust into balanced, but still have the valves open, and we can take a listen to that as well. So that's of course the valves open but without the cracks, and then in addition to that you can actually close the valves and we'll be able to hear as they close, and that's more like stock, to be honest. No cracks, much quieter, and obviously much more suited to, let's say, longer distance journeys. So it's quite fun that we've got all of those different settings, effectively, different modes that you can put it in, and many more between those if you're cycling through. The numbers are in then, and I'm here with Lucas.
Hello again, welcome back.
So, what do we have?
Well, 847, this is the big number.
847 horsepower.
At crank, at the engine.
Which is big.
Which is quite big, yeah. I mean, probably, because now the car is on 98 raw fuel.
Yeah.
Fueling it up with 100 or 102 would gain us, or give us another gain of like 8-10 horses on this car. But it's still nice to see it.
So we've got three charts here.
Well, coming from the stock, which is the green one, you can see at 6,200 you have 100 horses more. 747 versus 845 right at this spot.
So up towards the top end of the rev range, we're 100 horsepower up, and the torque is over 100 newton meters up as well.
It doesn't look that much, but actually it's the case. And just for comparison, because this was not filmed now, but doesn't matter, we did it in between the run, just to show the difference and the gains, just the exhaust springs. So
the blue run is exhaust only?
Only exhaust, just on the stock ECU map. Mm-hmm. Nothing changed. So in this case, it's 40 horses more already. Okay, and then red is with your stage 1 tune, effectively? Yes, it's a mild tune, so to say, just as stage 1. Yeah. Mild tune. This car is now making 847 horsepower. Stock is 730. Rated stock. Rated stock. We know it has a little bit more from factory already. But yes. Yeah. Those numbers are just crazy. This car is just crazy. Well, thank you very much for your work on it, and exciting times. Glad we could help, as always. My car has now been unstrapped, but it is going to be swapped around for a dyno run with this, which we can hear starting up, an AMG GTR Pro with a difference. So this actually has the OPUS 777 package, which you can think of effectively as an updated version of what I had on my original AMG GTR, which had 760 horsepower. This has 777, thanks to new turbos that are now available. Obviously, it is a different engine to the engine found in the Black Series. This is the cross-plane crank as opposed to the flat-plane crank, but 777 horsepower in that GTR Pro. And it does sound very, very good as a result. Isn't it amazing how fundamentally they are two, well, based on the same car, just different models, yet they sound so very, very, very different. That's obviously quite warm now, so we don't have any crazy loud cold starts, and that's with valves opened. Gosh, you notice it gets substantially louder. Oh, I like this. I like having the freedom and control as well, and obviously I've gone for this fairly mild stage of tune, but there will be some big projects based on these. I just think the car looks so insanely cool. It's really, really special. I can't wait to drive this shortly. I can't wait to drive it and see what this actually feels like. But first, obviously it's going to go up on the ramps so that we can have a proper look underneath, see how it is, and then they will get the diffuser reinstalled as well. With this up in the air then, let's come and take a look under here, where basically everything towards the tail end of the exhaust system is completely standard. You just can't normally see it
with the covers that are on, which will be reinstalled in a moment. We'll come back to this because I want to explain how the flaps work. But towards the front end, we effectively have the new system with some cats from HJS. So we've got the system that comes down from the turbos running back to here, and then that's where it's all stock completely back. But if you have a look here, you can see the way this effectively divides, with half of it going through the silencer at the back, the other half to the outer tailpipes. And that's where you have the valve control. So when you have the valve closed, everything is basically going through the silencer, the back box here. If you have it open, it can send half around towards the outside, but all looking very nice, and also starting to go a little bit coloured already, which is quite nice just from the dyno runs. It's always fun to see underneath these kind of cars and to see the engineering and what goes into it. Obviously we've got the gearbox lurking back here, mounted between the pipework that runs around it and all of the aero flaps, different parts that you can see. So what we need to do with this is get the covers that go over here reinstalled, and we can lower it back down and get it out for a drive.
We need a little bit of a dyno run with this, and the sound comparison is going to be unfair, I think. We've got to build up some of the revs, run through the same process, but you get so much more of the AMG V8. That is a very, 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 very good sound. I think in the future, the earlier AMG GTRs are going to be the ones to watch. The numbers on this are too perfect.
It's just impressive because 777 is not a joke, as you
Exactly,
can see.
777 horsepower,
Yeah.
919 Newton meters.
Yeah.
And I mean, this car, it's stock, it's 585. Claimed.
Claimed, yeah, we know it's already over 600 stock as well, but still, that's a huge improvement. I mean, you could even load up a stock run from a different car, actually.
But still, 777 horsepower.
Yeah.
It's a bit crazy.
Down to the ground it goes. So all of the parts have now been reinstalled at the back. Another little fix has been done to some of the panels here. It's actually a problem with the GT Black Series full stop, that if you drive very fast, this lifts out slightly. The clip design isn't very effective, you could say. Anyway, just come up with a quick workaround for that. And now it's going to be time to get this outside and take it for a drive.
It's going to take getting used to the new sound from this. So I'm going to take it now for a quick run. I need to head somewhere, but then we're actually going to come back, and I'll explain more about that in a moment. I'm going to go and see how this sounds on board.
So at the moment we're in comfort mode. If I go up into race, we get slightly more by way of revs. We've obviously got that open. I think at the moment we've got it completely open. Just press the button. Yeah, that does actually sound quite loud. So one of the interesting things here is that if you then put the exhaust into balanced, it changes the speaker balance inside here as well. Obviously I'm on a mic right on me, so it changes quite how much you might hear of this sound. But I'm going to go for a quick little run just to get a taster for the new system here. Pop it into manual. And we'll just head out, and obviously need to remember to drive on the right hand side of the road, not the left. Always the thing to watch out for when you've just flown into another place. And then, oh yes, that sounds so much better. It's not silly loud. I thought it might be louder. This is actually perfect. And you can hear the bangs. I've got to watch out because I'm on cold cup 2Rs at the moment and the ground is slightly greasy. Oh yes, okay, I'm happy right now. That's good. That is very, very good. Oh, this is ace. It's not mad. It's nothing like as loud as the SLS or the C63 Black Series. It's just the right amount of sound. For this kind of car. Then if we go all the way into comfort mode and back into automatic and let it shift up a lot, and we could close the valves,
We'll grab the key. Yeah. So now the speaker is obviously off because we're imbalanced or quieter. And it's actually really civilized and totally normal, even if I manually downshift. That's third gear at 4,000 RPM. In comparison, it's effectively like stock. And this road is fantastic. What an awesome stretch of tarmac. Yeah, that's really good to see the difference. So if we go into individual mode and open it all, we have the popcorn map effectively back on. Pop that away. Oh, this is brilliant. I love it. This is so good. However, the thing I mentioned that we don't have in here, as compared to my friend Jerk Collector's car, is the blow-off valve. So what I think we're going to do is head back and go and install that, which will give us those amazing swooshes from the turbos when you lift off, like I used to have in my GTR, and isn't too long an install as well. So that's going to be coming next. We'll have to head back to get that done. Just here on the Nürburgring Boulevard at the moment, which is always fun. On a lovely day for this time of year, honestly, absolutely spectacular.
Back in the workshop where the car has had about 5 minutes because the GT Black Series runs the fans when you turn it off in overdrive for quite a while, and that's because of the openings on the bonnet, meaning that to cool down the turbos, it has to run very aggressively when compared to the other AMG GT models. The other thing that's quite funny though is that you might have noticed I've brought my own picnic table with me for my lunch. We have the gigantic carbon fibre spoiler, the perfect place to eat your lunch. It's exactly the right height, just need a bar stool to sit behind. But up front, we've got the car opened up. There's a cover that goes on here that's just been taken off very briefly. We have the adapters that are going to be installed. Those will be going on in just a moment. And then obviously we will have a few more sounds out of it right after as well.
It's time to go then. So, oh yes, that really does sound very cool. So we now have the blow-off valves installed. Let me make my way outside. Get ready for another lovely little drive. Huge thanks to Lucas and the team here for their work on this new beast. So we are currently in comfort mode, but I do feel like while we're surrounded by very nice roads, we need to be in individual and manual. It just sounds more how this thing looks. That's the big, I guess, takeaway for me now of this, is that it looks like the most ridiculously wild and mad car in the world, with a wing this big and with all of the carbon fibre contrasting against the Solarbeam. Yet it was always a little bit muted, a little bit being the understatement of the century. And now, so I think with the blow-off, you need to be a little bit more sharp on the throttle. I'm actually going to test this because the engine's still warm. Yes, you can hear it. It's not actually crazy loud, which I actually quite like. That's perfect. In my original AMG GTR, it was really quite loud. But now it's like there without being too much there. Obviously, all of the bangs. I don't even know if you would be able to hear the blow-off valve. It's one of the things with filming with a microphone is that you can't hear much of all of the sounds around. Even with a normal camera, you can't hear much of everything that's going on around. But my intention is to go find an Autobahn, because of course, with 850 odd horsepower, you know, that's a big old number. I don't necessarily know if I'm going to be putting down 850 horsepower on the road today with Cup 2Rs at 11 degrees. We'll see how it goes, but for the time being, I've got a long old drive because I'm heading to Cologne. It will be dark by the time I get there, annoyingly, but anyway. This is mental. I think if I just absolutely booted it, even uphill, yeah. That's not even full throttle. So yes, that's why I'm not doing it. before anybody shouts and tells me I'm driving like a granny, you have to respect the car that you're driving. You have to respect the tyres, the temperatures, and the power, because this is, as of right now, the most powerful car that I own. More powerful than the Senna, more powerful than anything else, the G63 or the Taycan or the GT500. It was less powerful, no, it was more powerful than the G63, but it was my fourth most powerful car, and now it is my most powerful car, until the arrival of the Ferrari SF90 Stradale. And then I've been teasing a little bit that there might be some pretty big news to follow. And when I say pretty big news, I mean really, really, really big news coming up on maybe 2 days' time from now, Sunday. So, yes. Gosh. Yeah, so it won't be the most powerful car I own for very long. I can tell you that now. Right, let's go find some open roads and enjoy this. This is actually the very start of the Autobahn and the de-restricted signs, but I'm not going to put my foot straight down. Just ease in the power. Oh my goodness! What on earth? That took me by surprise. I mean, the car is fast anyway. Fifth gear. Massive amounts of torque. 200, 210, 220, 230, 240, 250, 260, 270, 280, 290. Okay, 300 kilometers an hour. 310. This is ridiculously fast. We're about to hit Vmax. 320, 330 on the limiter. 330 kilometers per hour on the limiter in the GT Black Series. That is Vmax in this car. And it was a little bit terrifying. 203 miles per hour, I think, something like that. Well, it gets there fast, but the in-gear, mid-gear pickup, and those bangs, just the amount of torque, this is what's crazy. I'm a little bit speechless. It took me by surprise. I think from the lower speeds is where I really felt it. So if I slow down a little bit more to fourth gear, this is just ballistic. It's just absolutely ballistic. But it's very, very stable, very planted. Like, very planted. Even over some of the rougher bits there. I can't believe how fast this is. We're up to 300 again. I just can't get my head around it. I'm going to hit Vmax again. 330 on the limiter again. I'm going to slow down because there's some traffic ahead. But you feel it running hard into the electronic limiter there at the top. This is just... I'm sorry I don't have a camera on the speedo. I wasn't really expecting it to be so ballistic. Obviously the tyres still don't have crazy temperature in them. We're up to 300 again. I can't believe this. I can't get my head around it. And you know what? I want to slow down because even though this is de-restricted and it's obviously only accelerating flat out where safe to do so, it's so fast that I'm actually having to double take how fast it is. I've just gone over 300 3 times and to the limiter at 330 twice. Alright, this car is ballistic and we know how good it is on the racetrack as well after my laps on the Nürburgring. So what happens now if we go into comfort mode? If we put the valve control is actually under my camera, so I'll just leave it open for the time being, but back basically into chill. We're in auto. Obviously it sits at about, well, at this speed, 180 kilometers an hour, so about 120 miles an hour. We're slowing down quite a lot now for the speed limit section. I was going to say it sits at about 3,500 RPM, so that's where you would want to close the valves or put them back into default mode, because otherwise you're going to have a drone going on at that speed. I mean, it's not a very normal circumstance to have to consider, really. It's an exclusive Autobahn problem. My word! Okay, today has been fun. Fly into Germany, beautiful day at this time of year, which is totally bonkers to begin with. Head to Opus, put this on the dyno, see that it makes a ludicrous amount of power, hear a pretty nice sounding AMG GTR Pro in the process, and now get back on the road with this, mind blown at how fast it is.
Well, guys, this is mental. I think that's 205 miles an hour for 330 kilometers an hour. Whatever it is, it's over 200 miles an hour, and this car is amazing. And I love it, and there are going to be so many cool things with it in the future. This is just the start, and yeah, amazing. So thank you very much for joining me today, guys. I hope you've enjoyed the video. I hope you are liking these upgrades as much as I am. But like I said, there is a lot more to come with this, going far and wide. But for this lovely day, beautiful afternoon, and I guess in a second, you know what, we've got to go back into this, haven't we? Last one, I promise, when we come back past the restricted signs here. Oh my word! You can hear traction playing. Anyway, I'm going to leave it there. Thank you very much, guys, and I'll see you again very soon. Cheers!